Welcome back to Coach Bill's Sports Show. As always, I'm Coach Bill. For those of you who are new, we do college football, pro football, fantasy football. We play a little NCAA 14 football. Can't wait till NCAA 24 comes out. And I'm working on getting some play breakdowns as well. So, if it's football related, we'll pretty well do it here. So let's huddle up and let's get into it. So before we get into the heart of today's video, I did want to say I'm going to do a live stream, my first one, this Saturday. I've got a live draft of my money league, and figured might as well, since I've talked about some of my do's and don'ts with fantasy football, since, fantasy football is part of my show. Why not live stream a real draft and let y'all see what I do? So we'll be doing that Saturday. But today, I wanted to talk about week one for the college football. The games I'm watching and who I think is going to win them. So this is in no particular order. I just kind of went through the games I wanted to watch and then picked a winner once I had them all together. So first up, we got Nebraska versus Northwestern. I believe this game is in Ireland. So neutral site game for both teams. I think Nebraska wins this game. Run game translates more when you're overseas, and Nebraska's got the better run game. So I think Nebraska takes that one. Next up is West Virginia versus Pitt. Selfishly, I'm picking Pitt to win here. I want Pitt to still be ranked when they play Tennessee the week following. So I'm picking Pitt here. But game's a lot closer than I think some people out there are predicting. Next up, as I've told you before, I'm a Tennessee fan, so I'm definitely watching the Tennessee versus Ball State game. I don't see an issue in this game. I think Tennessee wins this game pretty handedly. Nothing against Ball State, but Tennessee is probably a top 10 offense this year in college football. I understand I'm a fan, little biased, but I think they could be a top 10 offense in college football this year. Next up, we got Penn State versus Purdue. Penn State's no slouch of a team. They definitely got a solid team up there, and I think they end up winning against Purdue. Following that, TCU versus Colorado. TCU, while they lost some pieces from last year's team, it still has a solid team, and Colorado's really trying to find itself. It'll be a nice matchup here. Be some interesting football to watch, and I got TCU in this game. Following that is one that I think a lot of people are overlooking for good of football games. It's NC State at East Carolina. East Carolina is one of those teams that if you've ever been to a game in their stadium, you'll understand why it's a game I want to watch. They have a home environment that is just bar none. It really is. It's a wonderful home venue. If you're a college football fan, it's a definite must-go to. NC State's talented. NC State got some talent. Yeah, they lost a couple pieces in the draft, but they're returning a lot, and I think their quarterback takes another step forward in that offense. It'd be very interesting to see. Following that, another North Carolina matchup, UNC at App State. UNC Chapel Hill, it seems to me they're trying to find their identity. They have talent. They have some serious talent, and could definitely win this game. This is the closest game on the schedule of games I'm watching that I was close on. For me, it was 51-49. So this is truly a coin toss. I went with App State. Simply put, up in the Rock, App State is hard to beat. You go up to that stadium, it's a different world. It really is. Anybody who's been to Appalachian State, been to a game in that stadium, they understand. It's just a different world. Next up is one of the big games of the weekend. We got Oregon versus Georgia. And I mean, no disrespect to Oregon. I'm sure they're going to be a wonderful team this year. But Georgia's the defending national champs. They returned their starting quarterback. Yeah, they may not be as powerful of a defense as they were last year. While they have a lot of talent there, they don't have a lot of experienced talent there on the defense. So it may be a little bit of growing pain, but with this game being played in Atlanta, Georgia, yes, it's a neutral site game, but with it being played in Atlanta, Georgia, be very, very clear it's going to be a Georgia dominant fan base. And I just see Georgia winning this. I don't think Oregon's got enough really to compete with Georgia in Georgia. Next up is another big matchup for the first weekend, Cincinnati versus Arkansas. Cincinnati lost their quarterback that's been their quarterback for forever. They lost Sauce Gardner, lost a lot of talent to the draft this year. And Arkansas lost some talent too, but I think they're returning 9 starters on offense and a team that led the SEC in rushing. So I'm sorry, Cincinnati, but I don't see you holding a lot of talent. Holding a lot of ability. Not even ability, because that sounds disrespectful. There's not a lot of chances for you to win this game. You need to push it to be a shootout to win, and I think Arkansas is going to control the clock and run the ball so much that you just won't be able to do it. I got Arkansas in this game. Next up, one that might surprise some people because it's not a bigger game of the weekend, but BYU versus USF. I've got BYU as one of my sneaky teams this season, so I want to see them in live action. I want to see how they do. And that's why, 100% why I'm watching that game. Staying in the state of Florida, we got Utah versus Florida coming up after that one. And Utah, if you've watched any of my other college football stuff, is a college football playoff team in my opinion. And I think they show that with this game against Florida. I think they announced their presence with authority, and they beat Florida pretty well. The game of the weekend is the one I have up next, and that's Notre Dame at Ohio State. I've not been shy to say I think Notre Dame is overrated this season. They are. Nothing against Notre Dame. I'm sure they'll have a wonderful season, but you're not a top 5 team. You're not. You're probably 15 to 20 team. You're not top 5. And you're going to see that against Ohio State. Ohio State is one of the top 4 teams in the nation. And it will be very apparent. If I'm a Notre Dame fan, I'm not watching this game. I'm closing my eyes. I'm turning off all social medias, all electronics, and disappearing for the world for a little bit. Because it's going to be gruesome. Absolutely gruesome. Next up, little ACC matchup with Louisville and Syracuse. ACC's one that the amount of times I've gone through and done scenarios for it, it always changes where teams are placed in it. So I'm very curious to watch some of the ACC teams this week, or in week 1. This week is week 0. But I'm very curious to watch some of these teams in the ACC just to see how they stack up, how they actually play, and not what they look like on paper in my computer programs. That's what it comes down to. I've got Louisville winning that game. After that, Boise State versus Oregon State. This will not be a defensive person's favorite game to watch, but I love offense. And there's going to be a ton of offense in Oregon State versus Boise State. I've got Oregon State in that one. Following that, we got FSU versus LSU, Florida State University versus Louisiana State. What does the S stand for in Louisiana? Yeah, I think it's Louisiana State University. I'll be very clear. This is nothing against Florida State. Florida State is going to have a solid team this year, which will start them building back to the success that we have known Florida State to be. But starting with LSU, under Brian Kelly, I don't see it happening. I think LSU wins this game. Just as simple as that. Brian Kelly is a wonderful coach, and he's going to have those players ready. He's going to be ready to go no matter what. And Florida State, I'm sorry, but you run into the buzzsaw first. Next up, I've got Clemson versus Georgia Tech. Clemson has been preparing for this game since the season ended last year for them. So I see them coming out with a different kind of ferocity than we saw last year. DJ is going to be playing for his job every game, and he's going to need to put up touchdowns and put up a lot of numbers to keep his job. That freshman Kubiak is pushing him and pushing him hard. So if you got to put up numbers, I think Clemson's going to win that one. My last two games are very off the radar, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to find them on TV. But I'm interested by them. So the first one of those is Coastal Carolina versus Army. Army, with it being a military academy, has had not the best football programs. And Coastal Carolina has been that team of late that's really been able to compete with the bigger boys. I think Coastal Carolina is one of those teams that will probably get targeted in the next expansion talk, especially since they're right there near a bigger area in Myrtle Beach. In South Carolina, they've got a decent following. I think Coastal Carolina is one of those teams that's going to get targeted in the next expansion. And they could help their case quite a bit by beating Army, which I have them doing. I have them beating Army this week, or in week 1. Lastly, Middle Tennessee versus James Madison University. James Madison is one of those teams from the heart of Virginia that they'll reach out and surprise you. They can scare a lot of people. Haven't got to see them as of late, but traditionally speaking, they've been a very strong team that you have to be ready for. And if Middle Tennessee is overlooking them, this could be a shocking game for them. I have Middle Tennessee winning this game simply because I don't have them overlooking James Madison. But if they take that chance and overlook James Madison, it could go the other way. It could go the other way real quick. So those are the games I'm looking forward to in week 1. Winners that I think will win them. Let me know how I did. and join us for my live draft this Saturday. Hopefully we'll have a lot of fun. We'll be able to do some things, and you'll be able to see my beliefs and my strategies in action. Either way, please like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Definitely helps us here. And thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Ready, break.